Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper is the owner of Cooper Performance Coaching and lead instructor at Kodakwai Judo Club in Edmonton, Alberta. He is on the lifelong pursuit of helping others increase their performance. Cooper Allen is a top financial advisor from Barrie, Ontario, whose focus is empowering everyday families with advice, leadership, and tools that we should have been given in school. Together, they bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you create your own robust performance portfolio. With that, let's get into today's episode.
Coop, it's been a productive week for the pair of us. I think individually and as a team, we've been working on some stuff behind the scenes, and it's pretty exciting. And within all of that, by a total happen chance of potentially us spending too much time together, we've come on a topic today. And I was thinking capability, you were thinking preparedness. So preparedness is the topic because I think it encompasses both things well, and it is something that I think both of us are always thinking about in our own right. So with that, what's the off the top of the head catch-all or initial thoughts on what preparedness means to you, what preparedness should look like?
It's a great question. For me, I don't think it's what people think. A lot of time, people conveniently use preparedness as the reason to not take a chance. They say, I'm not going to go to the gym because I don't have the latest and greatest workout gear. I'm not going to meet with a financial advisor because I don't know all my numbers for my budget. There's a lot of people I think that just they get ready to get ready and use it as a procrastination tool. To me, what preparedness means is just working towards being ready for when life happens, not if life happens. That doesn't mean don't start. That's get on the bike, start pedaling, but then as you're pedaling, also seeking growth opportunities along the way to go, hey, maybe I should fire some knee pads on. Maybe I should get a helmet. Maybe I should upgrade the bike to a car. Maybe I should have a backpack with some food and some water in it, stuff like that. So not using it as an excuse not to start, but also as a mature, responsible adult, seeking ways to increase your capability, increase your preparedness for when life happens to you, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and just increasing your capacity to handle more. Because I think at the end of the day, the more you can handle, the more you're going to be rewarded. The more you're tested, it sets up can you handle being given more by the universe? So that's kind of just some of my initial thoughts.
Honestly, that's not even what I expected, so I love that answer. Um, yeah, I think much to your point there, Coop, it's definitely a topic that people can get too pigeonholed on and like can kind of overgeneralize because they're afraid of being prepared and what that means. And they're afraid of what it takes to be prepared. And we're not just talking physically capable here. I think that is the easiest piece to be prepared on. It's not I shouldn't say easy. It's the simplest because it isn't easy to be physically capable, but it does take a lot of hard work. But it's the simplest. I think the areas in life that are the hardest are life planning, are financial, are interpersonal. It's the relationship preparedness. It's the communication side of things. So like on those senses, sure, you could be capable and ready to protect, but is everything else in check? And, one thing I talk about to my athletes all the time is, the best performers in the world have a plan. Doesn't mean it's always going to go as is written out, but what that means is no matter what moment that we're taking in and no matter where we're headed, we have thought about it before we got there. And at the core, if you do that, your level of preparedness will go up. So I think people need to stop overgeneralizing areas like capability and preparedness just because, or not just because, but what I should say is because it's their like fear block of it. They're afraid of it because they don't want to be responsible either. Because when you're prepared and when you are capable, it puts a set of responsibility on you that people will look to you for that advice. People will look to you for help because they know you're ready to give it, or at least you're capable of it and prepared to do it. So it's definitely a daunting thing, but I don't think it means what people think it means. Much to your point there. I think you nailed it at the start. So,
We'll start with the performance lens and go into your world. What does preparedness look like in that sphere through that lens? Because I'd imagine that there's a lot of people who get into uh, when they think of their physical health, they're thinking of the six pack and the aesthetic and the body composition, and not as much thinking about life sustainability and just having an identity as a healthy person and being able to be prepared for when that becomes a use case. But what does that look like in your world?
great question. So, first off, a six pack is genetics, is a really clean diet, and a very specific thing that doesn't always translate to strength or capability, right? So, physically speaking, I'll use this as an example. I think training for functionality, training more on the athletic side of things is how everybody should train, at least to an extent. Obviously, if you're very sports specific or if you're a bodybuilder, these are your goals, you're going to work out in a specific way. But at some point, I think everybody should incorporate, moving heavy objects, loading, moving with a load, functional movement patterns, making sure we're loading our midline and giving a good axial load so we have a strong spine and all these things physically. Because, yeah, having super specific lift numbers and one rep maxes, that's cool. It could be very important for your sport, but at the end of the day, for you, for most people, typically to get to their one rep max, they can't do it cold. They need a 30-minute warm up, another 20 minutes of working sets, and then they're primed. They need a belt, they need their wrist straps, they need all of this extra stuff to hit that one rep max. I'm not discrediting that. But the issue there is you don't have that 30 to 40 minutes in that perfect scenario to warm up and get you ready for life, right? That big object lands on you, your bookshelf falls on your kids. You don't have time to warm up to it. You got to go. And I think, the way I look at it is I look at all of my lifts in the gym, especially my more functional ones. And in my brain, I know the numbers that I can do ice cold. And then people go, oh, but what if you hurt yourself because you're not warmed up? I'm like, but that's not the point. The point is, what mass can I move? What objects can I move when I'm not ready? And that's the difference between being ready for something and being prepared for something. Because preparedness isn't a one-time action. Preparedness is a habit that's built over time through discipline and hard work. Spe- Specifically speaking on the physical side, but when we get into this, it works on all levels as well. But that's the way I think. I go, okay, what could I deadlift cold without like really injuring myself here? Okay, I know that number. So play around with that. How long can you do a farmer carry for 500 meters at half your weight? How fast can you do that? Or just do a max distance. Take half your weight in each hand and just carry it as long as you can. How many pull-ups can you do? How fast can you run a mile? Test these things every once in a while where, yeah, it might not ever happen to you. Hopefully nothing crazy like that does happen to you. But what if it does? And if you ask yourself what if and you don't have an answer, you're not prepared. So on the physical performance side of things, it's definitely something that I think people like to avoid because they say, "Oh, well, I'm sports specific right now." Great, but not forever, right? Like you're only sports
That to me
specific.
sounds a lot like the people who put their 10-year-old kid into one sport and don't let them grow up as an athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, kids need to one be kids and do different modalities. Getting too specific too soon, in my opinion, is not always the right move. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but being well-rounded is way better than being single-faceted and you know the whole saying actually, the jack of all trades, master of none. Do you know the full? Everybody only ever says that part, but do you know the full thing?
No.
It's jack of all trades, but a master of one. Or sorry, jack of all trades, master of one. Oh, geez, I totally botched this. Geez. A jack of all trades is better than a master of one because a master of one is a master of none. Because if you only are specifically good at one thing and that's the only thing you can do, the minute you step out of that area, you are essentially useless. But if you have multiple skills that you're decent at or good at, you're prepared for, oh, I need to change the battery on the car. Oh, I need to change the light bulb. Oh, the sink is leaking. You're prepared to do things to at least a decent enough level. And then if you have to call on an expert, you call on an expert. But I think that goes in many fields. You know, you have to have some well-roundedness in your life if we're talking preparedness.
It's interesting you say that jack of all trades thing because in the military, they talk about two is one is none. Whether you're talking ammo or water or whatever the case may be, but just always prepare. In a business setting, do you have two pens right next to you or one? Well, if this pen dies and I don't have a second pen sitting next to it, I'm going to look like a dummy going off screen to go grab a second pen. So, whether it's something super small like that or whether it's something super big on, uh, hey, tire popped on the side of the road and I don't have a spare to change it with, or the spare pop too, or whatever the case may be. There's ways you can apply it to an extreme scenario. There's ways you can apply it to a minor scenario. And I like that you put the caveat in where uh, how physical preparedness is something that compounds over time, isn't going to come tomorrow. But mental preparedness and materialistic preparedness is so financial and physical preparedness will compound over time. Mental uh, and materialistic preparedness is something that you could change tomorrow. You could go put some um, food that doesn't expire and a couple bottles of water in your vehicle so that if you're stuck on the side of the road, you've got some food and some water and a tire pump and a couple other basic things to get you out of a scenario. Do you have a tool in your vehicle that could smash a window if you couldn't get the window down? Or do you have a seatbelt cutter in your car? Some basic stuff that you could do tomorrow to be more prepared. And uh, I think, Greg, one of the things that people say a lot, especially if they struggle with mental health, especially with anxiety, is whatever they're scared of, they just don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared of death, so I'm not going to think about what the future holds. It's like, well, if your parents are 85, you should probably start talking about what that estate looks like. Yes, I get that you're scared of talking about it, but you need to be prepared for when that time comes so that you can settle the estate in 2 weeks, not 2 years. Let's talk about life insurance and critical illness insurance. No, you're not jinxing it. That doesn't mean you're going to get a critical illness or a disability because you talked about being prepared with critical illness and disability insurance. The same thing with health. If we talk about, are you healthy enough where if your house was on fire, instead of sitting inside and waiting for the firefighter to come rescue you, could you pick up both your kids over your shoulders and get out of the house to safety? Because if you can, then you're relying on a firefighter to get there, which we're fortunate to live in a society where there's pretty quicker response times and everything's based on convenience. We can Uber Eats this in, or we can, uh, oh yeah, this is broken. Let's have somebody come in and fix it. But I think there is something to be said for, yeah, maybe you do take your vehicle into the dealership to, uh, for them to do all your oil changes. But if you had to change oil, could you do it? Because I'd rather be capable of something and then hire out for it, or capable of something and not need it. And I think tying it back to the mental health point is you avoid thinking about it or talking about it because you want to not go into your trauma or reduce your anxiety. I think addressing it head on, figuring out how to get good at it, or thinking of all the crazy scenarios and being as prepared as you can be around them would actually help your mental health. Because even if you're not thinking about these things, subconsciously there's still a small part of you that is, which is part of what creates anxiety in the first place. So if you just went to the deeper or darker or seemingly never going to happen space and then properly prepped for it, and you were conscious of it, maybe you didn't think about it all the time, because now if you think about it all the time, you'll probably become a doomsdayer, and
Mhm.
then your mental probably is ruined at that point. But nuancing, how do I think about it enough to be prepared so that I'm confident and sound, and my mental health around this is secure, and I'm not super anxious because I know if something happens right now, I can go to the next room, pick up one of my daughters, put them over my shoulder, get out of the house. Uh, but I'm not sitting here anxious about, well, because I know how to do that now, that means that my roof's going to cave in every single day, and I'm going to need to know how to do like. So the element of bringing yourself into the space of acknowledging that you're probably not as physically prepared and financially prepared and capable as you'd like to be, but then being an adult and actually doing something about it, I think is the trick to actually helping with the mental health side of things. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a little caveat because when you were talking about how people can be unprepared and like, it's just as simple as calling somebody or asking blah blah blah. South Park nailed this. So they did this episode recently. Randy's teaching his kids how to fix the oven because Sharon's been asking him to fix the oven door, and he goes, "Come here, kids, we're gonna learn how to fix the door." And he's got a box of tools next to him, which makes it even better. And he goes, "So first you walk up to the oven and you can see it's broken. Then you take out your phone and go, 'Hey Siri, call the handyman.'"
Which one?
And the whole episode is based on how like the blue collar workers have like taken over the world. And they're all like millionaires now because everybody's so unprepared to help themselves, even as something as simple as like fixing a hinge or something. But um, just as a small caveat to that, on the mental health side, um, you know, I view preparedness as self-respect in action. And to your point on anxiety there, Coop, it's true. Uh, Avoiding tough conversations, and I think it's easy to talk about finances there. Talking about life insurance, death, getting this stuff, getting out of debt. It can feel embarrassing. It can feel tough, but the people that are there to help you, they're not there to judge you. They're there to help you. If the people that are closest to you are your mom, dad, or even your partner and their financial advisors, find a new one. If that's what's stopping you and you don't want those people to know, that's fine. Right? But living with that burden is harming you, whether it's very obvious to you or not, it's harming you. It is in the back of your mind, maybe it's on the front of your mind. And that's so disrespectful to yourself because you're not giving yourself the time to just breathe and go and do your other things. Because in life, when we look at preparedness, I kind of monologued about physical preparedness for a while, which I think is especially in today's society underappreciated and undervalued. But if we look at preparedness for life, okay, physically you're good. You got that foundation. That's solid. Okay. Mentally, nah, you're a little lower. Financially, that's what's hitting the plateau. Okay, well, because your financials are here, or maybe you have lots of money, but you're just not prepared to deal with the what ifs and the unknowns in life. Well, that's dragged your mental health down to about here. And now that starts dragging your physical preparedness down because you're going to start skipping the gym. When you're in the gym, you're not thinking about your movements. And now everything starts going down because you're only prepared as your least capable, least prepared area in your life if we look at total preparedness. So being prepared for life is, I think, one of the greatest ways you could show yourself self-respect. You know, what's the bare minimum that you can do today to make sure that you can show up for yourself and for others? I think for a lot of us, it's a physical piece because the physical piece gives us time to think of our mental health, whether it's a walk, some morning movement, going to the gym, doing your favorite sport or hobby, the things that help you unplug. And maybe it is completely not physical and it's unplugging, reading, you know, doing something for your mental health that just gives you that peace and solace and that time to think and then go, oh man, yeah. It's time to have some tough conversations because if you avoid those, you'll be unprepared your whole life and you'll be living in a loop of anxiety and fear because you're unprepared and you're not giving yourself the time to be so. So, I think, you know, people need to look and audit their life a little bit on that if they truly want to have that feeling. So in your world, Coop, what is there like one area that you could put where like people are the most unprepared financially as a general statement?
Yeah, there's two. I guess I'll go three. The first is just day-to-day changes in budget. Budgeting is a huge one. Um, and not for the sake of feeling bad about how much money you spend on Starbucks. And being that financial advisor that's like you got to cut out all your fun and not live. It's no, you need to have an awareness to where things are going, what's coming in, what's going out, so that you know, okay, here's my income, here's my bills, and then I'm aware of how much I'm spending versus how much I'm saving. And when you have an awareness of that, then you can build in contingency plans for what happens when gas goes from $1.20 to $1.80 overnight, regardless of how we feel about why that happened. What happens when grocery prices uh, pretty much double over a 5 year period? What happens if, oh crap, you have a $3,000 car repair come up? And you meet with most people and their mindset is, well, we'll just figure it out because we always have. Well, maybe you always have, but and maybe you're not in this state of constant anxiety and depression, but you're also not in a state of full happiness and joy. Have you ever thought about maybe why that is? It's because this whole, well, we'll just figure it out because we always do, means that you're living reactively instead of proactively, which means you are not in control. Instead of you happening to life, life is happening to you, and you're just letting it happen. So that's maybe why you're not feeling that way. And that's how you get into a spot where when we sit with people and the average person we sit with has between 30 to 50 grand of credit card debt outside of their lines of credit and mortgage and vehicles. It's because when life happens and they're not aware of what they're saving versus what they're spending, then, oh, our kid made the rep hockey team. It's going to cost 5 grand this year. That goes in a credit card. Oh, I haven't had a family trip in a while. It's been 3 years and you know what? I've been working hard. So I owe it to myself. 5 grand trip on the credit card. Oh, then we had a car repair, 2 grand. Okay. Oh, we had a kitchen rental we want to do. And next thing you know, 50 grand's on the credit card. That some general preparedness around budgeting. If 5 years before those things happened, you'd have looked at a budget and said, okay, I need to either increase my income or decrease my spending so that I can save the money because you know what, a year from now, I want to have the flexibility to put the kids in higher level sports if that's what they want to do, or I want to have the preparedness to be able to go on the family trip if that's what we want to do. I want to be secure if I need a new washer and dryer or a dishwasher or a fridge or a new car or whatever the case may be. So I would say that's the biggest area, Greg, would be around the budgeting piece. Uh, the second piece would be people not properly protecting themselves. Nobody thinks they're going to lose a loved one too soon, but it's one of the leading causes of poverty in Canada is lack of life insurance within families. Uh, you have to look no further than GoFundMe on the critical illness and disability side to see people who are underinsured there, people getting cancer and having their long-term disability claims denied because they didn't realize that cancer isn't always covered under long-term disability. And
Mhm.
They go, "Oh, I'm covered through work. I'm good." It's well, no, you have long-term disability at work. You don't have critical illness coverage for cancer. But statistically, half of our country will be cancer in their lifetime. So that's a big one. And then the third and final one is retirement. Just figuring out, do you know what your financial independence number is? Meaning, do you know the size of the bag of money you need that's going to spit off enough interest so that one day you're not working because you want to, not because you have to? Uh, but if we can't start with the first two, if I can't help someone with their budget and establish their proper insurance, then why are we even talking about investing and getting to retirement? You need to protect home base before we start talking about growing and compounding as well. So those are the big three in the financial world for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I mean, I know it's something we talk about all the time. And it's made me think of, things that people can do today to start being more prepared. Because I think a lot of the times we don't maybe give as many, tangible things that people can act on. And when we talk about topics like this, I'm sure people listen to it and, there's probably a bit of that angst that gets brought up of it because it's like, well, these guys, right? We're not calling anybody out. We're just talking about things that we think about in our lives and that we see, with the clients, the people we deal with. So, the three things that like come to my mind on like how you can start being more prepared that are not daunting, that literally everybody can do regardless of their physical state, mental state, financial state, is start by getting your morning right. It doesn't need to be a grandiose habitual ritual, crazy long thing. I was there during COVID. I had like the most outrageous morning routine, and it became very unhealthy very quick. But in the morning, have some water. Hydrate your body, get primed for the day. Do some kind of movement. A couple push-ups, some air squats, step outside, do some stretching. It doesn't need to be crazy, but just get your body awake and ready to go. And then, have some coffee and fuel up, have some breakfast, or if you're not a big breakfast person, a piece of fruit, something. And people are listening to this potentially and going, what does my morning routine have to do with preparedness? Well, if you start your morning out right, feeling good, feeling positive, you're automatically setting yourself up for a better day. And then in that time, before the world gets loud and the world gets moving, look at what you need to do at a minimum for the day. Look at your schedule to just give yourself, and now you're prepared at least for the next 16 hours in front of you, assuming that we slept 8. So, hey, you're 16 more hours prepared than you were yesterday. And that's going to feel pretty good because you're not going to make any mistakes on scheduling, or you're going to make fewer. You're going to be thinking, I have, an hour here while I'm eating breakfast and just doom scrolling. Well, I should look at those notes for that meeting with Cooper later. And then I don't need to think about that meeting until my phone tells me that it's 10 minutes to that meeting and I jump on the Zoom. Perfect. Okay, so getting your morning right and like thinking about just the day ahead is a great place to start. And then as you build that habit of being prepared, do 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month. And then you can start planning long term. And that brings me to number 2, where it's building a plan. Build a plan for everything. And again, this can feel daunting, but you should have a plan to build your physical readiness, your financial plan, and a mental plan, emotional plan. And the financial plan is definitely one you don't need to do on your own. Get a financial advisor. Call Coop. Do a free consult. This is what he is here for. This is what people like Coop are here for, is to help us. Physical. If you don't know where to start, don't know how to start, don't want a personal trainer, message somebody that's a friend or a family member of yours. Even if they are a personal trainer, just text them for some tips. They'll probably give you a free program just because they're friends of yours and they're proud that you're starting out. Great. 2 plans done. Mental, emotional, we can call that a life plan. A little harder, a little more daunting. 10-year goal. I don't have a 10-year goal or a 5-year. Okay, great. You know what? Make a game out of it. If you have a partner, a best friend, Make a monthly bingo card. It sounds so silly, but it's so fun. I'm doing it right now. It's a mix of trying new things. It's a mix of interpersonal things. It's a mix of financial goals, of professional goals, but then it's gamified. And because you made it called bingo card and you have your little stamps, it's now fun. It's less daunting, but look, you're prepared for the whole month now. And because you gamified it, you're going to try to get a whole blackout bingo. And then when you come to do the next month after that, you might be in a state ready to do your whole year and then a 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, right? So just like simple planning things. And people overthink, oh, it needs to be this crazy. I seen this template online. No, it's a bingo card, man. 5 by 5, 25 things in the month. It's less than a thing a day. And it's sometimes as simple as read a book, go to a new restaurant, go for 3 walks this month, like stuff like that. And you're going to be more prepared. It's a simple, simple thing. And third is a little more intangible, but stop lying to yourself. It's as plain and simple as that. No, I'm ready. Okay, prove it. And I'm going to go back to the example of the physical readiness, right? Like run a little test. Oh, you can run a mile in under, let's say, 6 minutes? Prove it. Door's there. Go run it. Oh, you can do 20 pull-ups? Okay, bar's right there. Oh, you can farmer carry your weight when you haven't been in the gym and you weigh 250 pounds? Maybe. I'm not saying you can't, but let's see it, right? Can you carry your loved ones out of the fire? Right? There's things that you can test every day, but make a game out of it. But don't lie to yourself and say that you're prepared and you have all this stuff because nothing is more disrespectful than lying to yourself. You know, not being prepared is pretty disrespectful, but when you start lying to yourself when shit does hit the fan, now you're disrespecting the people around you because you told them you were prepared and now you let them all down. That sentence alone should give people enough shock and awe to stop lying to yourself that you're prepared.
I couldn't agree more. And even the simpler version, Greg, if someone's like, I don't even know what a farmer's carry is. I don't want to do push-ups. I don't want to do pull-ups. I don't want. Okay. Your significant other, can you lift them more than 6 inches off the ground?
Yeah.
Go walk up to them right now as you're listening to this, pause the episode and go, hey, I want to try something. Can you get them on your shoulder and carry them 8 feet to the wall that's right there? Oh, you can't? Then how are you going to get them up the stairs out of the house? How are you going to get them from the ditch, because your car's in the ditch, out of the ditch? Do you know how to firemen carry them? Do you have the strength? Could you? So yeah, that's a huge one. And hey, we're just going to figure it out. We always do. No, no, you might, but that luck runs out. And if that luck doesn't run out, it's a stressful life, man. And you might not feel it now, but you'll become hardened. You'll become that person that just, the world doesn't have to be great for your world to be great. And we have a society full of people that they look at the world and they don't create their own economy. They don't create their own household. They just follow the emotions of the world. Economy's great, they're great. Economy sucks, they suck. And they let what's going on in the outside influence what's going on in the inside, where there's tons of people that create their own economy. World's a dumpster fire right now. There's a new social justice issue every week that's exhausting to try to keep up with. Why are some people still happy? Why are some people still making money? And then, oh, it's all inherited. They all got it. No, 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 no. There are regular people making money. And half the people who want to be in that spot are sitting there saying, must have been luck, must be a scam, must not be legit, must have caught a break. It'll never be me. Yeah, it's inspiring. That'll change things. That'll make you prepared.
Yep.
Come on.
Well, and those same people try to predict everything. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, they're going to Epstein list. Oh, this. Okay, well, instead of trying to be a magician and predict everything, why don't you just be prepared for whatever comes your way? Then you don't need to predict. I don't care. You want to be really prepared? Don't watch the news. It's all a fugazi anyway.
Gary Vee said it best when people were asking him, hey, what do you think's the next big thing? Is it a stock? Is it NFTs? Is it, well, you predicted Facebook and Instagram. What's the next thing? Well, you become the best at the next thing by getting really good at the current thing because habits transfer over. If you're sitting there thinking, hey, we're going to go to a full digital currency, and whether it's Bitcoin or Greg Cooper coin or whatever it is,
I
well,
wish.
if you get really good at the fundamentals of the US dollar or the Canadian dollar, then you'll be able to rebuild your wealth on whatever the new coin is. So it's exactly what your point is there, Greg, is stop trying to predict what the next wave is going to be, and then just get really good at riding the current one so that when you do transition to the new one, you can still ride it smoothly because the fundamentals are the same. Instead of trying to prepare to hop next wave to next wave to next wave, and you end up drowning underneath it because you never learned how to ride a wave to begin with. You're just trying to predict when it was going to come.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
all I got.
I'll say one more thing on that just came to mind is like on the predicting being unprepared. I think the other thing where to my last piece of tangible, and this one a little more intangible, but the stop lying to yourself piece that you just made a little more clear to me is, you know, if you're not going to stop lying to yourself, that's a hard thing to do if you've been doing it for a long time. Whether it's a protection mechanism, whether it's an ego thing, it could be any number of things. And especially if you're a man, and you do have a partner and maybe kids already, it's hard to admit that you're not prepared. But if you can't move past the fact that you're not, I'll just say this. Whatever you say out loud, words are just that until you back them up with action. But your unpreparedness will always come out when there's stressful situations presented to you. So don't put yourself in a position to show your true colors unless your true colors are a prepared, honest, truthful man. So, and, or woman, whoever's listening to this, but in this specific scenario, I'm just thinking about, the men I know out there, because it's more typical for a man to hide that stuff than it is a woman. Um, because when women are capable, everybody knows, and it's not because they're bragging about it. It's because it's clear. Like they're not hiding who they are. Like you see a confident woman, a confident woman, and you're like, wow, that's what I
Man,
want
it's
in a
it's
partner.
so crazy you say that because I now think of every couple that I've ever sat with. Usually it's the woman going, we're here because we know we need to figure this out. And the dude sitting in the background with his arms crossed going, my investment portfolio is good enough and I am I'm saving the amount of money. I know my numbers. I don't need help. I don't know. And the woman's sitting there going, no, you make 10 grand a month. I make $0 because I'm at the house with the kids. You have no insurance on you. I would be effed if you passed away or you got sick and your income wasn't coming through the door. We need to get the whole family protect. And the woman gets it, and the guy's like, oh, insurance is not going to pay out. It's too expensive. We don't need that. Nothing's going to happen to me. It's like, dude, be a man and take care of your family. This isn't about buying insurance from Cooper Allen anymore, whether you get it from me or you get it from somebody else. Like, this is about protecting your family and being a man.
Yep.
Oh, my investment portfolio is good. Really? Well, you're costing yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars by being in the wrong stuff.
Hmm.
And now you're going to work till you're 70 while your wife's sitting there at 55 years old going, I'm ready to travel and start crossing off my bucket list because when you told me to not go into my career and stay at home to raise a family, and I made career sacrifices, the dream that you sold me and promised me was that you'd protect and provide and that we would get to cross our bucket list stuff off by the time we got to 50, 55. And now we're here and you want to work till 70 because you had too much pride. When I set up the appointment with the financial advisor, you no showed it, or you sat in the background with your arms crossed, thinking you knew it all, but you didn't know it all. It was just your own insecurity projecting on the person that was trying to help you. As a wife sitting there knowing that you need the help and begging you to listen.
Yep.
So
But I think, to that point, now that we went down a final note is, I think That is something that I notice and I look for, or not look for, but I definitely notice it. You know, when you look in your circle, and you know, you can think of, oh yeah, they're the power couple of the group, or maybe there's multiple. Hopefully, you have multiple power couples in your group. That to me shows that both people are very prepared, especially the man. It takes a very prepared man to pursue and to fall in love with a woman who is prepared and capable, because they can't bullshit that woman, because she doesn't need a man to make sure that she's safe. She's got herself. So if you see a man that is his partner, his wife, his girlfriend is super capable, she's fit, she has a great job, she has a vision, she has a goal, and that guy's standing beside her, just know that that is two very prepared people. And I think that on a relationship side, that is, um, you know, a true testament, because if both people are like that, it's like you should have those people in your friend group. Right? Yeah, you should surround yourself with those people and learn how they did it, because they're not there because it's convenient. They're there because it works. They're there because they tackle the hard things. They work on the things they're not prepared for, and they build a life, and they grow individually and together. So I think it's something to be said about that. And you know, even on the other side, like when a man is pursuing that woman, that's the hard part, because you got to continually prove that you're prepared, because she doesn't fully know it yet. So, you know, it's small things like that where you can look deeper than just how physically prepared are you. Well, there's a lot more pieces to the puzzle, and you got to look in all facets and all areas of your life.
Absolutely. And how about we start being, we just change the I and use the right I word. How about we start being inspired by those people instead of intimidated by them?
Hoop with the mic drop endings as per usual. Love it.
Right on, Greg. Appreciate the topic suggestion. Nailed it as always. And we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. See you, Coop.